Top U.S. immigration official set to leave Minneapolis amid backlash over federal enforcement operations. Minneapolis is entering a new phase in the federal immigration enforcement controversy after a prominent Border Patrol commander at the center of the Trump administration's aggressive crackdown is expected to depart the city, marking a visible shift in federal strategy following weeks of protests and political pressure. The official, Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino, had become one of the most recognizable faces of Operation Metro Surge, the federal immigration enforcement campaign deployed to Minneapolis and broader Minnesota late last year. Under Bovino's leadership, hundreds of federal agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and Customs and Border Protection, CBP, were deployed to target undocumented migrants, a move that ignited intense local debate and civil unrest. Leadership shake-up after fatal shootings. The timing of Bovino's departure follows two controversial fatal shootings by federal agents in Minneapolis earlier this month, including the killing of Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old intensive care nurse, by Border Patrol agents on January 24, 2026. Preddy's death, along with the earlier killing of Renee Nicole Good during an earlier ICE operation, prompted widespread local protests and calls for accountability from community leaders and lawmakers. Amid mounting pressure, the Trump administration is reshuffling leadership of the immigration enforcement operation, and Tom Homan, the White House's designated border czar and a former acting director of ICE, is set to take over on-the-ground coordination of federal efforts in Minnesota. President Donald Trump has publicly framed the leadership change as a response to calls for a more structured, coordinated approach. While some reports have suggested that Bovino has been removed from his role entirely, federal officials and the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, have clarified that he has not been relieved of his broader duties and will continue to serve within the Border Patrol, though he will be leaving Minneapolis in the coming days. Local and national reaction. The decision has drawn mixed reactions. Local elected officials, including Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, have repeatedly criticized the federal enforcement strategy, accusing it of overreach, aggressive tactics, and contributing to dangerous conditions in their communities. Frey and Walz both pressed for de-escalation, leading to direct conversations with President Trump and signaling a potential reduction in federal presence in the state. Protest movements across Minnesota also weighed in strongly. Earlier in January, thousands of residents participated in demonstrations such as the statewide economic blackout and general strike on January 23, aimed at highlighting opposition to ICE operations and demanding the withdrawal of federal agents. Ongoing controversy and legal battles. The leadership change does not end the controversy. The broader Operation Metro Surge campaign, part of President Trump's expanded immigration enforcement strategy, has faced legal challenges from state officials and civil liberties groups who argue that federal actions have violated constitutional protections and exceeded lawful authority. Legal proceedings, community protests, and national political debates continue to unfold as federal, state, and local authorities negotiate how enforcement actions will proceed. Some lawmakers, public figures, and advocacy groups have even called for broader accountability, including resignations or removals of senior officials such as DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and Bovino over how the operations were conducted. What this means going forward. The removal of Bovino from Minneapolis, even if limited to a reassignment rather than full dismissal, signals that the federal government is sensitive to political and public backlash over immigration enforcement tactics. With Homan now taking direct oversight, federal authorities may pursue a more calibrated approach to operations in urban communities. As protests and legal challenges continue, the situation in Minneapolis remains a flashpoint in the national debate over immigration policy, use of force by federal law enforcement, and the balance between public safety and civil liberties in the United States.